Hello guys, this is Pradyumna, one of the co-founders of Placement Scheme. I'll be continuing the lecture series on TCS NQT previous year questions. In the previous video, we have covered questions. We have covered questions from 1 to 5. Okay, now I'll be continuing questions from 6. Right? As told earlier, it is like these are the exact questions asked in TCS NQT 24th October and then slot 1. Okay, all these are memory based, right? The students have shared the questions with us. Yeah. Now, a sum of rupees 30,000 invested in a scheme where the interest gets compounded annually grows to rupees 51,840 in 3 years. Okay, so the principal amount is what? It is rupees 30,000. It has grown to rupees 51,840. So amount is equal to rupees 51,840. Right? And then what is the time? Time duration is equal to 3 years. Okay, this is what is given. Now we already know in compound interest, because it's clearly given that it's compounded annually, you know that amount is equal to principal into 1 plus r% whole power n, right? I repeat, amount is equal to p into 1 plus r% whole power n. Yeah, so here we have all the values. We are supposed to find the value of r from here. So amount is 51,840, which is equal to principal is 30,000 into 1 plus r by 100 whole power n. The value of n is 3. That is, the time duration is for 3 years. Now let's cancel out the common term. 0 0 cancel. Let's also cancel 3 3 ones, 3 17 51, 3 28 84. Yeah, so we have what? 1728, and then here 3 got cancelled, 1 0 is over, so we have 1 followed by 3 zeros, so it is 1000 is equal to 1 plus r by 100 whole power 3. Now let's transpose this to this side. So the cube becomes cube root. So what is cube root of 1728? We already know it is 12, right? And then cube root of 1000 is 10. So we have 12 by 10 is equal to 1 plus r by 100. So please be careful. We need to definitely remember a few values. Okay, you need to definitely know squares of numbers between 1 to 25 by heart and cubes of numbers between 1 to 12 by heart. These are standard things. For such simple calculations, you should not waste time, nor should you use calculators, right? So please be careful. Please learn the squares of numbers between 1 to 25 and cubes of numbers between 1 to 12 for sure. We definitely know that 12 cube is 1728. Therefore, it is cube root of 1728 12. Cube root of 1000 is 10. So this is what we have got. Now 1 can be written as 10 by 10. So this is all for calculations, right? 1 can be written as 10 by 10. So 12 by 10 minus 10 by 10 gives you 2 by 10. So 2 by 10 is equal to r by 100. So what happens now? 0 0 cancel. You get the value of r as 20%. Okay. Now half the problem is solved. Now what are we supposed to find? Let's see. How much interest would have got accrued in 6 months in the same scheme had the interest been compounded quarterly? Okay, now it is quarterly and then it is only for 6 months. Okay, so I hope you guys know the concept. Whenever the interest is compounded quarterly, the value of r, the rate of interest, becomes what? It becomes r by 4. Yeah, if it is half yearly, it becomes r by 2. Okay, if it is quarterly, it is r by 4. So we have already got the value of r as 20%. Therefore, r by 4 is what? It is 5%. Okay, so therefore, for our calculations now, the value of rate of interest is only 5% because it's compounded every quarter. Then in 6 months, how many quarters do we have? A quarter is one fourth an year. That is 3 months. Therefore, in 6 months, we have 2 quarters. Yeah, 2 quarters. Therefore, for our calculation now, R value is 5% and then the time is 2 quarters. Is that clear? Now, what are we supposed to find? We are supposed to find the interest. See, we can either go by the same formula. Okay, I'll write that, but I'm not going to solve it using that method. So what is it? So amount is equal to P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n. So here what is amount? I mean, how do we calculate it? We know principal is 30,000 into 1 plus, what is r for us? It's only 5%. So 5% whole power n, number of quarters is 2. Yeah, if you simplify this, you get the amount and then from this value you subtract the principal, which is 30,000. You get the interest accrued in 6 months. Let me repeat. First we found the R value, okay, which is the rate of interest, the actual rate of interest, the yearly rate of interest, which is 20%. Now since it's compounded only quarterly, therefore what happens now, the rate of interest is only 5%, and then in 6 months we have 2 quarters. Okay, so now we are applying the same formula, A is equal to P into 1 plus R by 100 whole power n, where R is 5% and number of quarters or the time duration is 2 quarters, therefore we are writing 2. Okay, now if you just simplify this, you will definitely get the answer, okay, which is the interest, because amount minus principal gives you the interest. But you know, this I would rather not prefer going about by this method. What I'll do, I'll use a simple logic. What is compound interest? It is interest on previous year's interest plus the actual interest. Let me show you what I mean by that. See what happens in the first quarter. In the first quarter, what happens? You know, 30,000 is the principal, right? So we know the interest is only 5%. So what is 5% of it? So 10% of it is 3,000 and 5% will become 1,500. So in the first quarter, the interest that is accrued is 1,500. Okay, this is in the first quarter. Okay. Now if it were a simple interest based question, now what happens in the second quarter also the interest accrued will be 1,500, third quarter also 1,500, so on and so forth. But since it's a compound interest based question, in the second quarter what we do, the previous year's interest 1,500 plus interest on previous year's interest, that is 5% on 1,500. Okay, now 5% of 1,500, please don't write it as 5 by 100 into 1,500 again. What is it? You know, 10% of 1,500 is 150. 10% is 150, so 5% has to be 75. So this value will be 75. Yeah, therefore this is the total interest accrued in 2 quarters. So 1,500 plus 1,500 plus 75, you get the answer as 3075. I hope this is clear for everyone. I hope the compound interest concept is also clear. Previous year's interest plus interest on previous year's interest, because it is compound interest. Okay, therefore what is it now here? How much interest would have got accrued in 6 months? It is rupees 3075, compounding quarterly. Okay, I hope this is clear. Let's move on to the next question. How much percentage is this value of this value? Okay, let's say this is x and this is y. So what are we supposed to find? We are supposed to find how much percentage is x of y, that is we are supposed to find x percentage of y, that is x by y into 100. Okay, how much percentage is x of y, that is x by y into 100. This is what we are supposed to find. Okay, so let me write the values as such. So 0.025% of 240% of 1.5. So this is the value of x divided by y. Y value is 0.9 into 100. Now what happens? 0 0 0 0 get cancelled. Let's simplify this. Okay, so what happens here? A 0 get cancelled. Now 24 into 1.5. So 24 into 1 is 24. 24 into 0.5, half of 24 is 12. So 24 into 1.5 is 36. So let me write it here. So 0.025 into 36 divided by, you have a 10, you have a 0.9. 10 into 0.9 is 9. Okay, now everything else got cancelled. Let me repeat, you've got a 0 0 0 0 cancel, you've got 1 0 1 0 cancel, then 24 into 1.5 is 36, 10 into 0.9 is 9. This is what I've got. So 9 ones 9 fours. Okay, so what do we get now? We know 25 fours is 100, so you have 100, but you have a decimal followed by 3 digits, right? So therefore 1 2 3, so the answer is 0.1%. Is it clear? What I've done is 25 into 4 is 100. So I've first written down the 100. Now we have a decimal point followed by 3 digits. So I'm just moving it to 3 decimals. So 1, 2, 3. So the answer is 0.1%. That is option C. Let's move on to the next question. If the positive square root of so much is multiplied by so much and the product is raised to the power of 4, the result would be. See, now the first observation is, so look at the values. You have 1600. You have a very big number, you have a 100, you have a 10. we know that these are decently apart, far apart, yeah. Therefore we can assume, as in we can go with a bit of assumptions, or the approximations is what I meant, yeah. We can go with a bit of approximations. Okay, see, if the positive square root of this, so positive square root, so positive square root of what is 90 power 0.5, what is a power 1 by 2, 0.5 is 1 by 2, right? What is a power 1 by 2? It is square root of a. Why? The identity is what? A power 1 by m is always mth root of a. Okay, therefore 90 power 0.5 is 90 power 1 by 2, which is square root of 90. So square root of 90 plus square root of 80. Yeah, square root of 80. Got it, right? Positive square root. So for that I've written this of square root of 90 plus square root of 80. Yeah, so this is what we've got. Then this is multiplied with what? 2 power 0.5 is again square root of 2. Square root of 2 minus 1. And finally the product. So this is the product that we have. It is raised to the power of 4. Okay, so this is what we are supposed to find. Now what shall we do? So you know that ab power 4 is what? A into b power 4 is a power 4 into b power 4. So this, so if this is a and this is b, so we'll get this power 4 into this power 4. Okay, so let's calculate, let's compute this power 4 first. Yeah, so we have a square root which is power 1 by 2 and you have power 4. Therefore what happens? One square root and one square get cancelled. So effectively we get what? We get square root of 90 plus square root of 80 whole square. This is what we get. I hope this is clear. This is power 4. So you have a square root. So square root already we discussed, it is power 1 by 2, right? So we have power 1 by 2 and again we have power 4. So 1 by 2 into 4 is 2. Therefore you have square here. Into you have square root of 2 minus 1 whole power 4. So I'm leaving it as such here. Square root of 2 minus 1 power 4. Now let's approximate. Because trust me, see, computing this is kind of difficult, right? We need not have to do that because the options, the answer options are decently far apart. So what shall we do? You know, square root of 81 is 9 and square root of 100 is 10. Yeah, so square root of, let me write it again, square root of 81 is 9, square root of 100 is 10. This 90 is in between, so I'll assume the value to be 9.5. I'm not definitely saying that it is 9.5. I'm just assuming it because it's between 81 and 100, exactly around between 81 and 100. So I'll assume the value to be 95, or I'll approximate the value to be 9.5. Yeah, because the values are far apart. Plus now square root of 80, I'll take it as 81 and I'll write it as 9. Okay, now this square into, we know square root of 2 is 1.414. So 0.414, so what I'll do, minus 1, so I'll just take it as 0.4. Okay, whole power 4. Got it, right? Square root of 2 is 1.414 minus 1, you get 0.414. I'm approximating it to be 0.4. Okay, now you have a power 4, I'm writing it. So 9.5 plus 9 is what? 18.5 whole square, and then we have 0.4 power 4. So I'll first write it as 0.16. 0.4 whole square is 0.16 whole square. Okay, now see, since we have a square, we can multiply them. I hope this is clear till here. 0.4 whole power 4 is 0.4 square whole square. 0.4 square is 0.16. Again we have one more square remaining. Okay, now we can take square common. So what can we do? 18.5. See, you can probably use calculator here, okay, but I'm just solving it assuming you don't want to use calculator or something like that. Yeah, so 18.5 into 0.16, so 0.16 whole square. This is what we are supposed to compute. Okay, we can also approximate here. Yeah, so what is this? 18.5 into let me take 2 from here, so we get 37 into, you have 0.08 whole square. Okay, so this is what we have. So what is 37 into 8? Okay, 37 into 2 is it is 74 into 2 is 148. So you have a decimal point followed by 2 zeros, so it is 1.48. yeah, 37 twos 74, 74 twos 148. Again we have 148 into 2 is what? It's around 3, right? It is 2.96 or something, so around 3. So you get 3 square, so which is 9. So the closest option is option D. Okay, so let me repeat this computation alone, assuming you don't want to use calculator. Okay, I would probably not use calculator. Okay, so 18.5 into 0.16. So first I have multiplied by 2. So you've got 37 into 0.08. Again I have multiplied 37 by 2. You get 74. Again I'll multiply 74 by 2. You get 148. Again I'll 148. Again I'll multiply that with 2. You get 300. So 300 approximately. So we have a decimal followed by 2 zeros, right? So it is 3. So 3 square is 9. So the closest option is option D. So after 10 you have 100 again, which is so far apart. So you will definitely go with 10. Okay, what is the mean deviation of the data? Okay, first let me explain one concept here. Let's say what is the mean of 10, 15 and 20. What is the mean? Mean is sum of observations by number of observations. Yes. So what is sum of observations? So 10 plus 15 plus 20. So it is 30, 45. So 45 is the sum divided by number of observations 3. So you get the mean as 15. Okay. Now you know the mean is 15. Okay. So let me write it here. Mean is 15. Now let's find the deviations from mean. The deviations from mean. Take the absolute values. Okay. That is, see, 10 is 5 less than mean, so it is minus 5, the deviation. So these are the deviations. Okay, 10 is 5 less than mean, so it is minus 5. 15 is exactly equal to mean, so the deviation is 0. 20 is 5 more than mean, so it is plus 5. Now if you carefully observe, the sum of deviations from mean will always be equal to 0. So check it here. What is the sum of deviations? Minus 5 plus 0 plus 5. So the sum of deviations from mean is always 0. Okay, please remember this. Okay, we are taking the absolute values. Okay, but now if you carefully observe the question, the students might get confused. Okay, see, what is the mean deviation of the data? So what is mean deviation? That is the deviation from mean is what we are supposed to find. Yes, the deviation by mean by the number of observations. I'll explain what that means, but what I'm saying is mean deviation. So what shall we do? We should first find the deviations from mean. Okay, the deviations from mean, and since it's mean deviation, we'll have to divide by n, number of observations. Just now we have discussed, we know that the deviations, the sum of the deviations from mean, this is sum of deviations, right? The sum of deviations from mean is 0, right? So that the answer should be 0, right? No. Let me repeat. What I'm saying is, you know that the sum of deviations from mean, the sum of deviations, if you're taking the absolute values, the sum of deviations from mean is always 0. We know that mean deviation is what? The sum of all the deviations from mean divided by n is what is called mean deviation. We know sum of deviations from mean is 0, right? So 0 by n, 0 by anything is always 0. So should the answer be 0? No. I'll tell you why it is not so. Because when we are computing the sum of deviations, we'll have to take the modulus of it. Okay, so effectively the equivalent of this for this question is, we are not supposed to compute minus 5 plus 0 plus 5. What are we supposed to compute for this? The mean deviation. It will be the what is modulus of minus 5? It is 5. You know, right? The modulus is what? It eliminates a negative sign. So modulus of minus 5 is 5 plus modulus of 0 is 0, modulus of 5 is 5. So effectively you are supposed to compute this. Okay, this is called as the mean deviation. Okay, if you are taking along with sign, it would have been 0, but the mean deviation is what? You will also include a modulus. Is it clear? Okay, so let's try to find the deviation first. I'm sorry, let's first find the mean first. Okay, so what is mean of this data? Mean is what? So even if you have not understood anything till now, please carefully concentrate here on. You will understand what I mean by the deviation being 0 and then the deviation not being 0 here. Okay, so mean is what? The sum of observations by number of observations. What is sum of observations? 8 plus 9 plus 12 plus 15 plus 16 plus 20, 24, 32, so on and so forth. Yeah, you can probably add it. You know what I would probably do is I try to group terms in such a way that it's easy to compute. 20, 30 is 50. So first I'll write 50. Yeah, then what can we do? 16 plus 24 is 40. So I'll write 40. Yeah, then what do we have? What else do we have? 8 plus 12 is 20. So I'll write 20. Okay, then what else do we have? We have a 9. Yeah, 32 plus 34 is 68, sorry 66. 66 plus 9 is 75. 75 plus 15 is 90. Yeah, so 90, 90, 180, 200. So the sum of the numbers is 200 divided by number of observations 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Therefore you've got the mean as 20. Okay, now what are we supposed to find? The mean deviation. That is, first we'll have to compute the deviations from the mean. Okay, so now think about it. 8 is 12 less than 20, so I'm writing minus 12. So let me write it here. Okay, or probably first I'll write the values. Okay, 8, 9, 12, 15, 16, 20, 24, 30, 32, 34. Now 8 is 12 less than 20, so it is minus 12. The deviation is minus 12. 9 is 11 less than 20, so minus 11. 12 is 8 less than 20. 15 is 5 less than 20. 16 is 4 less than 20. 0. It is 4 more than 20. 10 more than 20. 12 more than 20. And 14 more than 20. As I told earlier, if you sum up all of this along with the sign, you will definitely get 0. Okay, so check it if you want. You can probably check it, okay, yourself, you know, like let's say, okay, let me also do it. Minus 4, 4 is gone. Then we have minus 12 plus 12 is gone. Then we have what? We have minus 11, 11 plus 8, 19, minus 24, and here also we have plus 24. So everything gets cancelled and you get 0. If you were to take the deviations along with sign, the sum of deviations along with sign, but when we are computing the mean deviation, we don't take the signs into consideration. So what are we supposed to find? We should add all of this without sign. That is, take minus 12 as 12, 11, 8, 5, 4, 0, 4, 10, 12 and 14. So add all of this. What do we get? Again, I'll group it. 12 plus 8 is 20. Okay. And then what else do we have? We have 20. Then we have a 9 plus 11, again 20. So 40, 44, 54. And then you have 66, and then you have what? You have 80. So you've got the sum of deviations as 80, and then mean deviation. So you'll also have to divide by the number of observations, 10. Therefore you'll get the answer as option A, that is 8. So effectively what we are supposed to do, find the mean first. Second thing, write the deviations from mean. Third, don't consider the signs, just add the deviations. Fourth, after adding the deviations, divide by the number of observations. So you get the answer as n. Sorry, you get the answer as 8 here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. An item was sold at a profit of 12% after giving a discount of 12.5% on the list price or mark price, both are same. What would be the gain or loss percentage if the discount is 25%? For this, let me explain one concept, okay? See, whenever from let's say there are two values x and y, okay, whenever there is an increase of 1 by x from x, then from, okay, let me take 1 by n, okay, because x is already taken. Whenever there is an increase of 1 by n from x to get y, okay, I'll explain what I mean by that. Then from y to get x, you will have to divide by, or it has to decrease by 1 by n plus 1. Let me take an example. Let's take 100 and 1, or 100 and 120. Think about it now. How much, what is the increase from 100 to 120? You know, 20 is increased from 100. So what is it? 1s and 5. So there is an increase of 1 by 5. Okay, there is an increase of 1 by 5. 20 from 100, so 1 by 5. Now from 120, how much will it have to decrease by, so that you get 100? You will have to decrease by 1 by 5 plus 1, that is 1 by 6. Think about it. What is 1/6 of 120? 6162. So it is 20. So if you decrease 20 from 120, again you are getting 100. Is it clear? So whenever it is increasing by 1 by n, we'll have to decrease it by 1 by n plus 1 to get the same value. Sir, why are you saying this? How is it relevant to the question at hand? It is relevant. You can solve it very, very easily. You will only have to remember that whenever there is an increase of 1 by n, then to get the same value, you'll have to decrease by 1 by n plus 1. Okay, fine. So let's look at the question. An item was sold at a profit of 12%. So let me take selling price, cost price, selling price, and market price. They have told that there's a profit of 12%. So let me assume the cost price to be 100x. So profit of 12%. So 12% of 100x is 12x. Therefore, there is a profit of 12x. Therefore, the selling price is supposed to be 112x. Only then will he get a profit of 12x, right? Okay. So we get 112x. Now, what did they say? They told that there is a discount of 12.5% on the list price. That is from market price. From market price, if you reduce 12.5%, what is 12.5% in fraction? 12.5 by 100, you know it is 1 by 8. So I'm writing it directly. 12.5 by 100 is 1 by 8. So there is a decrease of 1 by 8 from mark price to selling price. Therefore, what should be the increase from selling price to mark price? See, we have seen the decrement is what? 1 by n plus 1, right? So this is 1 by 8. If the decrease is 1 by 6, the increase will be 1 by 5. Got it, right? So since the decrease is 1 by 8, so the increase from selling price to mark price has to be 1 by 7. So just increase 1 by 7 on it. So what is 1/7 of 112? What is 1/7 of 112? 717, 7642. So you'll have to increase 16x. You'll have to increase 16x to get mark price. So what is 16x plus 112x? It is 128x. I hope the concept is clear. See, without using any equation, nothing, you get the answers directly. What I've told earlier is from mark price. What did they say? From mark price, you know, right? Discount is always given on mark price. So from mark price, there is a discount of 1 by 8 given. So we know 1 by 8 decrease. Whatever 1 by 6 decrease, so the increase has to be 1 by 5. So 1 by 8 decrease, the increase has to be 1 by 7 from selling price to get mark price. So from selling price to get the mark price value, I am just increasing by 1 by 7. So 1/7 of 112 is 717, 7642. Therefore, if you increase 16x, you get 128x. Now the problem is solved. See, now we have all the variables. See now what happens. Now what they are saying, what would be the gain or loss percentage if the discount is 25%? What is 20? So mark price is again 128x only. So what is the 25% on it? 25% is 1/4. So what do we get? 4 3 is 12, 4 2 is 8. So if you are giving 132, if you are giving 32x as discount from 128, subtract 32x, what do we get? You get 96x. Therefore the selling price is only 96x, and you know the cost price is 100x. Therefore there is a loss, right? Cost price is 100, selling price is 96. So loss of 4x from where, you know, right? So loss is 4x. That I hope everyone understood. Loss is 4x. You know, loss percentage is what? Loss by CP into 100. Loss by CP is 100x into 100. So what happens? You get it as 4% loss. Is it clear? So think about it. This is a very, very important shortcut that everyone can remember. Okay, 1 by n increase is always equal to 1 by n plus 1 decrease. See, by the use of that, we are not doing any equations here at all, right? So directly we are able to get the answers. That's how this shortcut helps us. Therefore, for the answer for this is 4% loss. Okay, the last question in this lecture. What is the diameter of a solid right circular cylinder whose height is 6 centimeters? Height is 6 centimeters. Area of the curved surface is 5 times. What is the area of the curved surface? Okay, this is the right circular cylinder, right? What is the curved surface area? You know, right? CSA. Curved surface area is what? 2 pi r into h. Okay, you know, right? What is the difference between curved surface area and total surface area? Curved includes only the area of the curve. Now, if you want the total surface area from this, what should you do? If not this 2 pi r h, you should also add the base areas. This area plus this area. Top and bottom will not be added for curve. Top and bottom will be added for total. So we know each of the curved surface, this is a circle, right? In the bottom, pi r square. Top also pi r square. So you'll have to do 2 pi r square. This may not be relevant to the question at hand, but I'm explaining the concept. Okay, as I always do, I'll also explain the relevant concepts, not just to crack this question, to crack any question from this particular concept. So if it is a curved surface area, it's only 2 pi r h. If it is total surface area, if not the curve, you also add the top area and the bottom area. Okay, remember that. Let's look at the question. the area of the curved surface, that is the CSA, curved surface area, is 5 times the combined surface area of the two flat surfaces. These are the flat surfaces, right? So this one and this one, yeah, the circles. So what is the combined area of two flat surfaces? It is 2 pi r square. Let me repeat. We are given that the curved surface area is 5 times the combined area of two flat surfaces. Curved surface area is 5 times the combined area of two flat surfaces, pi r square plus pi r square. Now what is curved surface area? We have already seen 2 pi r h. So 2 pi r h is equal to 5 into 2 pi r square. A pi gone, 2 gone, r gone. So we get h is equal to 5 into r. So h is 6, it's already given, is equal to 5 into r. R is equal to 6 by 5, that is 1.2. See, now most of the students, once they arrive at the value of r, immediately they'll mark 1.2. But please, because they are in haste to mark the answer, please read the question carefully. What is the diameter? We are not supposed to find the radius, we are supposed to find the diameter. Therefore, we are supposed to mark the 2.4. Okay, so please be careful. Once you get the value of some variable that you've assumed, okay, finally read the question carefully, because you may mark the wrong answer. See, clearly there is a bait here. Yeah, you will definitely fall into that trap. You may have marked 1.2. Therefore, read the question carefully. The right answer is 2.4 because you're supposed to find the diameter. See, as always, this geometry, mensuration, these are all, these all can be solved using the formulae. So please go through the formulae and understanding the concept behind it, okay, so that you can solve any question from this as well. The questions will not be difficult, they'll just be tricky. Okay, fine. So that's all from me in this lecture. Thank you everyone.